Nam yo ho ning cho 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 nam yo ho ning.
Hi, I'm Margaret, and this is the website where we take Buddhist philosophy and practice and apply it to the problems and concerns of everyday life. And this week, we're going to be discussing, do you let circumstances control what you do? In this world today, we're all trained by our various cultures to rely on the evidence of the senses, on what's outside of ourselves. We're taught that the circumstances we see outside of ourselves are reality, and that they determine what we can or cannot do. As children, we've all heard things like this, that the adults say, we can't afford that because of, I only have so much money, so that dream isn't possible. Or, your uncle can't get a job because of a bad economy. Now, comments such as these teach us over and over again that the circumstances in which we find ourselves determine what we can and cannot do. Now, our Buddhist training teaches us that from within our Buddha nature, we're one with the infinite mind that created the universe, the mystic law. We've been taught to chant about a problem and told we're never deadlocked, that there's always an answer to any problem. Now, that training turns the idea of being controlled by circumstances on its head. We know that when we chant, we get ideas that come from within, that the intuitive, wise voice is always accessible to us. All we have to do is ask the questions that will elicit the answers. But in order to hear the answers, we must move to a different wavelength. It's rather like tuning to a different station on the radio. To do this on a spiritual level, we have to stop focusing on the problem, but instead turn to the Gohanzen where all of the answers can be found. And when we connect with the Gohanzen and are one with the universe, we've entered the realm of possibility. The realm of possibility appears when you stop looking at the circumstances which make your goals seem impossible. Instead, you look at what you want and you ask, what would I do if I thought this were possible? What would I do if I thought there was a chance this could happen? And then act on the answer. This is really hard because it flies in the face of everything we've been taught. It means you look unrealistic. You're relying on unseen, invisible forces that are not available to the senses. So let's look at an experience. Lisa and her husband Don were remodeling their house. They had a construction loan, and with it came a long list of projects to be completed. They had a challenging problem as well. They didn't have enough money to complete the remodel, and if they didn't complete the remodel, they could lose their home along with all the work they'd put into it. They'd borrowed everything they could borrow from the banks and had no idea where they could find any more money. Lisa decided to take the problem in hand and started intensively chanting for the house remodel to be complete. She didn't tell anybody she was doing this. Don, who was working hard on the house, chanted for solutions to construction problems and also for the completion of the remodel. Since they needed money, Lisa chanted for the $25,000 they needed to complete the work. She had learned about oneness of self in the environment and understood that if she allowed herself to fall into negativity, that she would create the very situation she was trying to resolve. But it was so difficult. Every time she started to chant for the solution, all of the problems came up in her mind, and she couldn't see any solutions. She knew she absolutely could not focus on the problems, or that is what she would manifest. So she would determinedly pull her mind out of the negativity and refocus on her goal, that completed remodel. Sometimes she had to do this 50 times a day. Several weeks passed, and they were getting closer and closer to running out of money. It was hard for Lisa not to panic, but she persisted chanting for what she would love, the completed remodel. And then something happened. Her sister called and asked her if she could use a $5,000 loan. Lisa was ecstatic. She was making progress. She thanked the universe and put that money into wallboard and electrical wire. 3 more weeks passed. One day, her brother contacted her from halfway across the country He wanted to know if she could use $20,000. There was a little trust, and he didn't want to invest it in the stock market because the market was so bad at that point. He wanted to invest it in something safer, in real estate. Lisa couldn't believe her ears. The money they had needed had shown up in the nick of time. Lisa learned several things from this experience. She discovered that even though she couldn't see the solution, if she chanted with a completed goal in mind, that the universe had the answer. She just had to keep visualizing her completed goal as though it had already happened, and she had to keep her faith strong. Most of all, she had to keep her mind away from focusing on any problem she was facing and only focus on the solution. Now, when challenging a goal, it's a good idea to have a support system to remind you that you're an infinite being and have the answers to any problem, accessible from within. It's so easy to fall back into looking at the problem circumstances, which tell you that what you want is impossible. You want a support person who won't buy into the problem. He or she will help you stop looking at the problem. Instead, they might ask you, what would you do if you thought there was a chance your goal could actually happen? They would remind you to take action on the answer that you get and to consult with that inner wisdom for one step after another to take you to your goal. So, to summarize, today we looked at how our culture trains us to look at any problem we're facing and buy into what the circumstances appear to say, that what you want is going to be hard or maybe impossible. Then we examined what Buddhism teaches us, that we have a universal connection through our Buddha nature that has the answers and can make the connections to solve any problem. But in order for this to work, we have to remember that what we focus on, we will create. If you're focusing on the problem, that is what will manifest. If you focus on what you want, then you've entered the realm of possibility, which is on a completely different wavelength. And invisible connections and solutions will show up to move you toward your goal, and you'll be able to hear the solutions. Then it's up to you to take action on the ideas you receive. Finally, we discussed that it's helpful to have a support system when you're challenging a difficult goal. That person can remind you that you are an infinite being and have the universal connection that can resolve any problem so that you won't be overwhelmed by the circumstances. So here are some related URLs you might like. Number 1, know why it's important to master the mind. 2, are you having a spiritual struggle when chanting for a goal? And 3, do you know how the universe communicates with you? Well, since this is coming out the day after New Year's, I want to wish you all a Happy New Year and just tell you once again, I'm thoroughly enjoying your comments and your suggestions and ideas for things to do. So keep them coming, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.